Hurricane Milton, still a Category 5, set to make landfall tonight. Extremely devastating potential from this storm, which is still at Category 5 status with wind estimates of 165 miles per hour and a pressure estimate of 910 millibars, although Recon are indicating that the pressure might be increasing a bit. There are signs that there's another eyewall replacement cycle beginning, and that may avoid a Category 5 landfall as a result. It is moving northeasterly at 10 miles per hour. We're also expecting wind shear to rise just before landfall later today. At 7 a.m. local time, Eastern Daylight Time here this October 9th, there it is right now with those extraordinary wind speeds. Extremely powerful storm, absolutely the upper echelon of what we see in the Atlantic. Well, the wind field is starting to increase as well. It's 100 nautical miles in most quadrants, 110 in the northwestern quad, and currently at 24.8 north, 84.9 degrees west. It is 324 kilometers from Key West, 350 from Marco Island, 371 from Fort Myers, 430 from Tampa, and 548 from Orlando. Almost all of those locations are under hurricane warnings, a tropical storm warning for Key West. Also storm surge warnings as well, with the potential for up to 15 feet of storm surge, including in the Tampa Bay area. This western coast of the Florida Peninsula struggling to catch a break. Well, the primary hazard, of course, is still damaging winds, but also that surge as well. Depends exactly where you are. Extremely dangerous hurricane is likely to make landfall with winds of around 150 miles per hour, depending, and the landfall area we're expecting it to be near Sarasota. Milton also expected to be one of the most dangerous storms in this area's history. National Hurricane Center has been using that terminology as well. It is going to be an absolute destructive storm as it moves through very shortly. Well, landfall is expected late tonight. It's probably going to be at around 9 or 10 p.m. or later actually. It's going to be around 2 a.m. actually, I think it was, but of course the strong winds will start arriving earlier. There it is, moving through, moving off towards the east, turning post-tropical near Bermuda, and then moving on over the open Atlantic as a very weak remnant low. The track's pretty much set in stone now. There's just going to be small deviations. Interestingly, the ADT estimate's still going with 175 miles per hour, actually slightly higher than that, but I don't think that's credible. Recon are finding 160 to 165 mile per hour winds extrapolated to the surface. National Hurricane Center's last advisory was 160. I think that may have been slightly low, but there are signs that this storm is starting to weaken slightly, so it may be correct now. Well, there it is, moving northeasterly, and that National Hurricane Center cone calling for that landfall once again close to 1 a.m. Thursday. You can see it there on that chart, and then moving through central Florida, possibly close to Orlando, then moving out over the western Atlantic. It will still be a strong Category 1 at least by the time it re-emerges. This morning's GFS model run there showing the storm's track, and because we pretty much know what it was, I'd probably pay more attention to that tropical storm wind field, which once it does emerge off the east coast of Florida does extend quite far north. That's why there's tropical storm warnings in Georgia and I think even in South Carolina now. So tropical storm force winds could be affecting those coastal areas too. Also up towards the Big Bend area of Florida, a brief period of tropical storm force winds as well, and then also the northern Bahamas under a tropical storm warning as this fierce storm pummels through the area. Here it is again in the simulated reflectivity. It's going to be the northern side by far that has the heaviest rainfall. The southern side will be the dry side. So if you're on the southern side there, the rainfall impacts will be less, but on the northern side we could be looking at very high amounts of rainfall, totaling possibly up towards 16 inches. Watch again as the storm moves through there, and it is all of that Tampa Bay area that really cops the very high amount of rainfall there, along with some very strong hurricane force winds. And of course the core of this storm is still relatively small, so the most powerful winds will be quite concentrated near the center, but hurricane force winds over a pretty wide area. Well, looking at rainfall expectations then for the next few days, of course, from this storm, and you can see the areas that we're expecting the biggest impacts there. It is the Tampa area, getting up towards 13 or 14 inches of rain, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, up towards Orlando, getting close to 10 inches now on that latest forecast. Daytona Beach also getting to 10 inches as well. And looking further north, maybe towards Jacksonville, 3 inches, and further south towards Sarasota, despite having the potential for the landfall, only about 3 or 4 inches of rain. Of course, that could change. Deviations towards the south will bring those rainfall amounts further south as well. Well, sea surface temperatures, looking at the amount of energy ahead of this storm, well, there's plenty of it, and obviously that's been pretty clear. These are minimums really that you could expect. If anything, it will be higher than this, 27 to 28 degrees Celsius, probably more 29, and then moving out into the western Atlantic around 27 or 28 again, and starting to cool off as it gets towards Bermuda. Really going to be turning post-tropical pretty soon after it leaves the coast of Florida, because it's being really strung up by a big frontal system. And here it is on satellite imagery right now. The eye was much clearer earlier on, and it kept Category 5 status for a lot longer than anticipated, although the eye is shriveling up and disappearing round about now due to this incoming eyewall replacement cycle. We'll probably start seeing this, well, we are seeing this on radar now as well. We'll show you that in a second, but here is the enhanced infrared imagery showing those cloud tops still looking pretty good, even though the eye is diminishing, and also a significant bank of heavy thunderstorms on the northeastern side as well before the central core. That's going to be affecting the west coast of Florida pretty soon, if not already, and that's where we could start to see some of the supercell and tornado risk materialize. I believe we have a 10% SIG today from the Storm Prediction Center. Movement has been northeast. It's slightly deviating east of the track still at this point, so we could still see 1 or 2 little deviations on the forecast cone further south, but it does look like it's going to be somewhere around the Sarasota area that receives the landfall from this storm. Looking at some more longer range imagery here as well, you can see the storm really looks formidable. This was the infrared overnight as well, and you can see how it's been developing, although Recon starting to find slightly higher pressures. They did capture still 155 knot flight level winds, so it's really impressive the winds that they're getting there, but the pressures that they're finding now probably getting more towards 915 millibars, but still, when we were talking about this when the storm was first strengthening, even that was absolutely extraordinary compared to what the forecast at the early stage of this storm was. So really incredible, and we are expecting a massive landfall on the way soon, enormous storm surge. Hopefully those in mandatory evacuation zones have done so, because this storm is going to absolutely be the real deal, I'm afraid. Once again, for the Florida region, there's the radar, northern side looking very fierce, the whole storm on its way very shortly.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.